Good morning, this is Robert Radford with another game from 50 Years of Chess. My opponent today is Andrew N. Chapman from the Cleveland Chess Club. We've only ever played once. It was in a league match back in 2017 on the 12th of September. Andrew, I've been looking at him and he has Bermuda heritage of some kind, and he actually plays for them, or he did play for them in matches for Bermuda itself. So he's an international player to some degree, and he's done quite well over the years. He's at the time I played him, he was around 160, which is around 1900, I think, in ELO terms. So I was a little bit lower than that. I was only a little bit about 1878, something like that. So it's pretty even as regards to our playing strengths. And but Andrew is a very good player. He plays good chess, and I was impressed with the way he played against me. And as we never met before or anything, he was a very nice man. Actually, I liked him. It was a game between Horfield. We're home to Cleveland. So I was white and I opened with d4. Andrew played d5, c4, e6, so we're going into a queen's gambit, declined. But then he threw in c5, which is very interesting because very rarely do I come across this nowadays. It's a Tarrasch variation. It's good. It's got a good record. When Tarrasch invented this idea, it was knowing that white can easily leave black with an isolated pawn on d5, which finds most of the game having to defend, unless you're a really vigorous, verbose sort of player that very imaginative and come up with things. But generally white doesn't have too much trouble with this opening. But nevertheless, it's still a good version. Tarrasch himself said only time will tell whether this is a good opening. Knight c6. I should be swapping off on d5 now. And that's what I did next. So now if I were to take pawn takes c5, you would see why some players don't like this idea of an isolated pawn. And yet, black can get all his pieces out very easily. The bishops, the knights, they can all easily develop. So e3, knight f6, bishop e2, cd, knight takes d, bishop e7. Right, so it's all book at the moment. It seems I have a slight plus of 0.3, but as I said before, I think that's often because of playing white pieces. You do get a little bump at the beginning on a plus, and also because of the isolated pawn. So I castled, bishop f3. Now I want to try and concentrate on that pawn if I can. He's only defending it twice at the moment, but then he brings in bishop e6 to defend it. So he's got a solid enough position now. b3, because I want to finish it at the bishop. Now I've played e3, I need to do something with the bishop. So he's played queen a5, attacking the knight on c3, bishop b2, rook c8. So he's really getting on with developing his pieces. He's a very active player. I like the way he plays. He plays very good chess. Rook c1, rook d8. You see how he's got everything involved. His most passive piece is probably the bishop on e7, protecting the knight. But other than that, he's doing okay. So I took the bishop on e6 to weaken his position. Even though it's given him two pawns in the centre now instead of one, my plan is to pin that pawn to the rook behind it on c8 so he can't move it forward. And I'm offering him the opportunity to play knight takes bishop. I never worry about giving up bishops for knight at our level, at international level. Grandmasters, they think it's a sin most of the time, but I don't, not at this level. So king f7. I brought the bishop back to h3. He had his chance to take it. So I brought it back to h3, and I'm keeping that pin on that rook for now and attacking that weak pawn. So he's broke the pin with rook c7, queen e2. I want to make sure my rooks are connected, so that I've also got a bit of power on knight to b5 perhaps in a minute. So he's gone queen into b4. There's only one reason I can see that why he's done this. Maybe he felt he didn't want to be out there on the rim anymore, and he wanted to come back in towards the centre with his queen on d6. But maybe he wants to flick his queen across. I'm not sure at this point. Knight a4. Yeah, that was what it was. He played queen across to h4. So I played bishop into d4, so that it reinforces the c5 square. He's played bishop d6. So what am I going to do? Well, I whipped off the knight because it can become very powerful if he gets into e4, or you can go places with it. So I played queen to g4. I'm trying to get a queen swap here. I'm not too great about the position now. It's got a solid pawn centre, and yeah, I think I'd be happy with a draw here. I can't see really how I can win it. He's got to take really because I'm hitting that e pawn. So he does take, bishop takes, and at that point I offered Andrew a draw, and I didn't know whether he'd accept or not, but he did. He took the draw. He felt it was drawn and there was not much in it. So that was the game with Andrew Chapman. It wasn't that it fizzled out or anything, because nothing had ever really happened. It was a lot of manoeuvring, but there was a lot of interesting stuff going on from a chess point of view. I did like the way he played, and I felt I dealt with it quite well, really. I would like to double my rooks on the C file, but I noticed he can play bishop a3 as the arrow is pointing in that direction, and that would have prevented me from doubling my rooks, which is not good for me. So, you know, I did have some things. I got 4 connected pass pawns and 2, whereas he's got 3 islands of pawns, 1, 3 and 2, which is not always great in the endgame. But his king's already out on the 7th rank, so mine's not. So yeah, that's probably another reason why he had a slight plus at this time. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll get another game to you as pretty much as I can. Alright, so see you later, folks.